All right, I think we might finally be live. I apologize for the long delay. Gosh, 20 minutes. So maybe I'll end up cutting the stream a little bit shorter than usual. My name is Dennis Misigoy, Libertarian for the U.S. Senate here in the state of Florida. Coming back after a little hiatus. Last week I was traveling actually over to the National Convention in Reno, so that explains my absence, I hope. I should probably be a little more flexible than just doing these only on Thursday afternoons, but such is life, man, and such is the challenges of trying to run a campaign, or trying to campaign at all, I should say, when you're not one of these, the establishment, two-party kind of built-up people who just are willing to do anything, and they dedicate their lives to getting power, and they sacrifice absolutely everything, and that's a little different for us. As you know, those of us of the libertarian persuasion tend to pretty much be the kind of folks who would rather just be able to live on their own, live the way that they'd like to, work and focus on the things closest to them. So for us, I would much rather be able to, like a lot of us who not just run for public office, but serve in public office, to be able to focus on those things. But the reality is we've got these terrible people in power and all these horrible things going on, and so it behooves us to step up and take the steps necessary to try to do something to kind of break their hold on power and to advance the cause of liberty, because if we don't do it, they're certainly not going to do it. So that's the challenge for us, and certainly that's a challenge for me. So again, welcome back, and let me see, I already got a couple comments in here. Helping with the campaign, same stuff as usual. Misigoy.com, right over here. Go out to the website if you can contribute. Every little bit helps. If you want to volunteer in some capacity, there's a form in there for that. I'm probably a little bit behind with getting back to some folks who filled that out, but we're working on the team and we're getting things together. Spreading the word obviously is something we can always use more of. I got a few ideas, but certainly any other platforms that we can get connected with. And let me see what else. Just the more reach we can have, because obviously we need to reach people in a more natural and viral way. We don't have the same mechanisms by which to connect with people, so we've got to work with what we got. So every little bit helps, like I said. Next thing, a mention about the National Convention in Reno. Since Mises Caucus swept the convention, will you be getting traction? You will be getting traction in your Senate race. I hope so. I've had positive responses. I try to get along with everybody. I want to be clear, because I know there's people who have strong feelings on both sides of it. I've had good interactions with Mises folks before I even knew that there was a Mises caucus. Josh Smith is somebody I've been well acquainted with for a number of years, supported him in his previous chair runs. I don't know Angela McArdle quite as well. She was just elected chair with, I think, the largest margin in the history of the party. So that's pretty impressive, and the first ballot out. So that is definitely something to talk about, or at least for other people to talk about. Maybe not as much for me. I don't have too much to add. In addition, though, I know, like I said, again, trying to get my train of thought. There's the folks on the opposite side of the situation, the non-Mises folks who, I can see why that might have happened. I had a little something going on with the phone. Give me one quick second, guys. I apologize for this. Let me take care of something right quick. I apologize. Be right back. All right. Sorry about that. So, sound is back. We are back in the conversation. So, yeah, like I said, I know there's good folks on the other side of this. The non-Mises folks, some of those that are close to dear friends of mine who are not real fans of what's going on with that. But all the same, I try to get, like I said, try to get along with everybody. At the end of the day, if you want to see liberty advanced, I hope you can find common cause with my platform. So I definitely want to be able to extend an olive branch to folks on every side of that divide within the party. Yeah, and I've got good friends and also friends who are likewise kind of straddling that fence. So I think there's room for everybody in the party. But it'll be interesting because I do agree that, what's the word I'm looking for? The Mises Caucus folks have definitely brought a lot of energy to the party and certainly brought a lot of it to the convention as well. So I'm looking forward to see what they do and how that impacts the party. Like I said, I've had pretty positive interactions with a lot of the Mises Caucus folks here in Florida and even some of the ones outside of Florida, by and large. Maybe not universally, but for the most part. So it'll be interesting to see. Val Deming's the best choice for U.S. Senate. I mean, I would expect her to say that, but I disagree with Marco Rubio about it because from my, I would say my assessment is that she, like him, epitomizes really the worst of her party's establishment. She is someone who, as you know, and I'll give Marco this one because he took a ding at her as soon as she announced the fact that in the last congressional session, she literally voted 100% in lockstep with Nancy Pelosi. Now, if that doesn't kind of, at a bare minimum, sort of give you an indication of that, look at some of the specific things that those kind of votes are on. This is a person who always votes for the next NDAA to increase military spending, to increase some of these worst things in the growth of government, voting for, again, the additional foreign aid, another $40 billion very recently to go off to Ukraine. Again, not in pursuit of peace, not in pursuit of protecting the Ukrainian people, but in pursuit of a proxy war to try to bleed Russia at the American taxpayers' expense. And at the expense of the Ukrainian people, who are the ones caught in the crossfire, the ones who are getting killed, who are getting their homes destroyed. They're the victims in this. And certainly this isn't intended to say that the Russians are blameless by any stretch. But the question is, somebody started a fire. What are we trying to do? Are we trying to put it out? Or are we trying to fan the flames, feed the fire some more kindling so that it can get bigger and bigger and bigger? So the question is, what should it be? What should our policy be? And I'm of the opinion that our policy should be trying to de-escalate these kind of situations and certainly not to pursue escalating conflicts with the next the country that has the next largest nuclear arsenal in the world, that being Russia, of course. So I think that's obviously a mistake, but more importantly, I think the reason why Congresswoman Demings and Senator Rubio are not the best choice to continue on in our U.S. Senate seat going forward after this next year when the election occurs is simple. Everybody who takes a seat in the U.S. Senate, just like the House and everywhere else in public office, swears an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. They have demonstrated a complete disregard for that, as do almost everybody who currently serves. Excuse me. And that's something I would take extremely seriously. And it's very simple. Any piece of legislation that isn't constitutionally authorized, that's a no vote. When you have thousands of pages of a bill being made available overnight and you're asked to vote on it and nobody's even read it, that's a no. Some of these things that are obvious no-brainers and obviously also as well, not just guided by the Constitution itself, but the principles of individual liberty and a rejection of the idea that really anything but I shouldn't even say this, but that anything is better managed centrally from Washington, D.C. There are certain legitimate functions of government. Deciding, regulating the kind of compensation people can get when they work, voluntarily enter into a working agreement with someone is not the role of government. Prohibiting people from growing certain kind of plants, not the role of government. So many areas that we deal with and that have affected and adversely affected so many lives because of these policies. These are just some of the reasons. I think another reason be also, I've touched on foreign policy a little bit, I've touched on the spending a little bit, but we should also touch on monetary policy. The fact that we have right now record inflation at over 8%, 8.5%, and the kind of lip service that these folks pay to it is really ridiculous. They're talking about price gouging and going after companies or instituting price ceilings. Anything that just wouldn't work and would be absolutely disastrous has no and like so many other government solutions that we hear about, comes at the cost of completely disregarding what was the cause of the issue. The issues like, for example, the student debt crisis is a result of creating this system that allows for all these easy loans to go out. The current crisis with inflation is a cause of expanding the money supply by insane amounts over the last couple of years. Trillions and trillions being added to the money supply. It just can't help but affect it. And when you hear most of these folks talking about it, they really have no sense of that, and no inkling of how really to allow Americans to get out of the way of this, this giant rolling boulder that's just going to run us all over. We need alternatives, and there's no reason we can't have alternatives. We already have alternatives that are being produced by the market, in spite of the fact that most of us have grown up with just the general assumption that money has to come from government. I'm talking about cryptocurrencies. You also have alternatives that would be backed by hard assets like gold and silver. But any one of these things is a better alternative. Free markets that allow people to choose. I had the opportunity while in Reno to sit in on a live stream from it was Monerotopia. Obviously, they're talking about their specific cryptocurrency, but cryptocurrency in general is something that really offers a great opportunity for us to kind of get out of the way of this by switching to a different monetary system and allowing us to, and certainly we wouldn't want to take it away if people will still want to use the US dollar, fiat dollar as it is, that, everybody should be allowed to do that as well. But but people should have a way out, because every American deserves a dollar, or let's say a monetary unit, that is worth just as much tomorrow as it was yesterday when they earned it. So I think that's really important for us to be able to have and to be able to offer people, to be able to have those discussions. Let's see. We're bouncing around all over kind of places. So let's see. What can a senator do about raising a price of gas? Stop contributing to all the causes that are raising it up. On top of the inflation, we put sanctions on countries that are producing gas. We complicate the relationships we have with them. You remember they were talking a little earlier this year about the Putin price hike, but it wasn't Putin putting the sanctions on us to stop the sale of it. It was him doing it. It was us doing it, excuse me. It was our country and other countries trying to do whatever they could to spite Russia, no matter how it hurts us, the people. People owning firearms make our community safer. Absolutely. Here's an actual current event I've been meaning to talk about. I didn't get to talking about it, obviously, since I wasn't on last week. The shooting in Texas, Uvalde. There's a lot of interesting aspects to that. Sort of very sketchy piece of it in the news cycle. The fact that it seems like there's been a lot of lies the police have already told that have been revealed. Which kind of goes to that whole, also the whole government coming in to manage disinformation being a little strange. But there's a lot of questions that have come up. They had initial claims that the shooter had body armor. That turned out to be false. They had claims that they had engaged him earlier. I think those turned out to be false. There's been some disputes about the length of time he was in there, but we know it was probably something at least around an hour, where the police were stopping others who wanted to step in and try to stop this thing. The police were in essence protecting the shooter as he was going around killing kids and some teachers within the school, which is absolutely mind-boggling. But it does make you wonder if there's something bigger to it, if it really is just some sort of evil incompetence or fear, or is there something more to it? I hate to delve into those kind of areas, but it's hard not to think that when you look at what's gone on and what we've found out so far. So those are just some of the questions and some of the thoughts. You go through here. We have some other comments on it. Leon, yes, owning guns makes our community safer. Absolutely. This is the big thing, I think. And when talking about this issue, the whole idea of gun-free zones, I haven't checked the exact numbers on it. I know I've seen it posted by somebody else, but if you just look at the split in terms of mass shootings at schools, before and after the whole gun-free zone thing was established in most schools, it's night and day. We've created basically the ducks in a barrel. You know, this easy shooting gallery with little or no resistance for anybody who wants to make a big splash by killing as many people as they can. They know you can come to a public school and do it if that's where you want to do it. And that ends up being where a lot of mass shooters, certainly younger mass shooters, tend to go. Even if it's not even their school, because obviously in this case we're talking about a high school, an 18-year-old who is going and shooting up an elementary school. So it's indicative of something really, really problematic. And it seems quite obvious that I always make the joke of, nobody's ever going to commit a mass shooting at a gun range, and for quite obvious reasons. The whole point with that sort of thing is to not have resistance. It is to be able to take down as many people as you can, even if it's a person who intends to get killed along the way. They certainly don't want to get killed, after they shoot one person in the shoulder. They want to rack up as many bodies as they can along the way. And, it's unfortunate that we have made that, what's the word I'm looking for? That we've made that, the standard of how we have our schools set up, so that we're just serving them up on a platter. It's wrong, and it's it's not fair to the kids who've been put in that situation. And unfortunately, it's so much miscommunicated about it. The belief that we could just pass laws and get this stuff to stop has no basis in reality. Let's see. Yes. People should be able to use their firearms to pretty much protect themselves wherever they are. But we're setting it up for the shooters, basically. Minimum wage $15 an hour. What do you think? I'll just go with the Thomas Sowell quote, sort of paraphrased. The real minimum wage, no matter what the law says, is always going to be $0, and that is the wage that more and more people are going to have in the midst of either the institution or the increase of a government-mandated minimum wage. It's not really a minimum wage. What it is you're making it illegal to pay people below a certain wage, which means you're making it illegal to hire certain people, at wages where the employer would be able to and feel good about hiring them, and to which the worker might also agree. Because at the end of the day, there's no working agreement. There's nobody actually taking a job unless both the worker and the employer agree on the conditions. Once they agree on the conditions, and if they're willing to agree on certain conditions, who is the government, me, or anybody else to step in and say, no, can't be that way. You can't do that agreement. You can't agree to that wage or whatever. It's indefensible, and it's destructive. Joe Biden, worst president or very bad president? I'd say very bad president. I can't say the worst because, Woodrow Wilson in the Federal Reserve, FDR and the New Deal. You'd be hard pressed to beat that out. And I'll give Biden a little bit of credit. He did, as much a disaster as it was, he did follow through with the plan to get us out of Afghanistan. And, it's probably the greatest accomplishment of his life. But, it's worth something. So I'll give him a little bit of points for that. Still awful. Still not, that's not really high praise or anything. I'll give a little bit of credit. Give the devil a little bit of little bit of his due. And, I think I'll leave that one there. Essentially mandated minimum wage is government interference where we would otherwise, people would be, where people would otherwise be voluntarily agreeing to the terms. People agree to the terms, and that's it. There shouldn't be any other parties to it that have to give their approval. And certainly that's part of the problem we have. I don't know about Biden having a choice. You can certainly look at it different ways. I think what I heard some people kind of theorizing about it was basically the position that they were in. They knew that they either had to withdraw, kind of going along with the plan that was sort of set into place when Trump was still there, or the alternative was a surge, and they were not willing politically to take that hit or to invest what they needed to into a surge. Obviously part of that credit, if you want to say, goes to obviously the resistance in Afghanistan to it, the Taliban and whoever else was making it so difficult for us. But a surge just to reassert control. The reason why things had been calm so long in Afghanistan was because the Trump administration had made a deal with the Taliban so that there was not they were not actively fighting us at that point. So things had essentially calmed down, and this is where people get confused about what was going on in Afghanistan, because there had been the ceasefire preparatory to the U.S.'s withdrawal. That was part of the deal. However, if the U.S. didn't withdraw, there wasn't going to continue to be a ceasefire. There was going to be more active fighting, and the question is, what were we prepared to do? What were we prepared to invest? And I think politically, the memory of 9/11 is sufficiently faded to where people are willing to invest as much, because it's not a trivial amount. Certainly not to try to maintain hold over Afghanistan. We spent 20 years there, over $2 trillion, and the what we left behind basically evaporated within a week. The Taliban retook control, and that's an indication of how little power we had there. So that's an indicator. And to try to assert control over the country, where once we were gone, the puppet government we placed there was gone in a week. We know it would never have been worth it. It never was worth it. They never should have been going after regime change in Afghanistan. They should have gone after Al-Qaeda, and really they should have just negotiated with the Taliban to have bin Laden and friends turned over. But that's really going back quite a bit here. Where are we at as far as qualifying? We're in a pretty good place. Qualification comes up in the next couple weeks. The week of the 13th to the 7th, we expect to be there. So we're looking forward to it. We got a couple little things to work out, but nothing major. So we anticipate announcing within the next couple weeks that our position in the ballot in November is locked in, and then it's just going to be a question of let's spread the word, let everybody know, and we're going to try to bring the message everywhere we can in the state and make sure we have it available to everyone in the state so that they can hear it and they know about it. And with that, I'm going to wrap this up because I need to go take care of some other items. So I will talk to you guys next week. Obviously, you can reach me through here. One more thing, if you happen to be in Central Florida, in St. Cloud on Saturday at 11, Veterans Park, we're having a little event. It's right here on the Facebook page. I posted it on the other social media on Twitter. So go look. It's a bright yellow flyer. Just peace, not war. So let's. If you're sick and tired and you want to make it let it be known that we here in Florida do not We don't want to have more warmongers representing us, that we want to have, that we believe in peace and we want to get out of these conflicts. Show up, bring your signs, bring yourselves. It's a nice park. If you have kids, you don't have to leave them with a babysitter. There's a nice playground there. So come on by 11 o'clock on Saturday, and I will see you guys there. All right? Take care.